For quite a while, I believed that my lack of confidence comes from my father. And I remember when I was young, perhaps 8, 9 years old, coming back home, very excited to show my school report to my father. He was taking it, looking at it carefully, and giving a bunch of comments that I don't remember exactly what they were. But at the end, there was a sentence that I remember perfectly. You could do better. And that was when my story began. My father didn't trust in me. My father didn't believe to my ability. My father never encouraged me. He believed that I'm not enough. And I remember years later, I was sitting with my mom and I explained her about one idea I had. And my mom said, this idea is great, you should start it. And I said, I don't know if I can finish it. The idea is good, but I don't trust my ability to finish it. And I remember my mom told me, I wonder why you start always with these good ideas. You abandon them or you never start them. And I explained my mom the story. I said, because my father always discouraged me. He never told me that I can do it. He always told me that I could do better. And I don't know what it means to be better. So that's why I decided to not do things. And my mother told me, what are you talking about? Where this sentence is coming from? Because your father always believed in you. Your father always said that you are very intelligent. And he said, I can't believe that you're risking your life because of one sentence that I don't know where it's coming from. And at the beginning, I didn't believe my mother. And in fact, it took me a while to consider she might be right. But eventually, I realized something much more uncomfortable. I spent most of my time remembering one sentence, and I forgot almost everything around it. And for the first time, I wonder how much my suffering was coming from what happened and how much of it was coming from what I built around what happened. The story of my father is not about only my father and me. It's exactly something that all of us, we almost do every time. We collect a few facts, we fill the gap, and we create a narrative. The mind works like a novelist. We gather evidence, we connect the dots, and we create a story. And we predict it. The difference is that the novelist always says that it's a story. What anxious mind says is actually the truth. The difference, this tiny difference, creates an enormous suffering for us. Storytelling is one of the greatest abilities of human being. We created civilization, we wrote books, we started philosophy, religion, every scientific theory. Every love letter starts with a story. The ability of imagining is one of the greatest abilities we have, and it helps us to survive. The problem begins when we forget that we are creating a story and we believe that is a photography, a truth, something complete, something objective, something unquestionable. Once I started paying attention, I realized something else. I was doing it everywhere, with friendship, with work, with rejection, with uncertainty, with everything in my life. even with predicting the future. Human being is always imagining the future, but modern life gives us the endless opportunity to treat disaster as a reality. Tomorrow's conversation, next month finance, a medical test that we never received, a relationship that it didn't even end, and a catastrophe that didn't even start. So the same imagination that help us to create art, write books, invent technology, and build civilization become the cause of our suffering. Unlike our ancestors, we don't need to wait for the danger. We can manufacture it from comfort of our living room. And unfortunately, the body reacts to imaginary danger exactly as if the real one. Imagine you're sitting and watching a movie. When you see a crime scene, a terrible way that a person was murdered, your body starts to react. Your heart races, your muscle tightens, your sleep becomes more difficult, stress hormones start to rise. So the danger may be imaginary, but the reaction of your body is real. Fortunately, there are few ways that we can lighten a little bit more these stories that we tell ourselves. Not because the stories are bad, but because reality is often bigger than the first explanation that our mind provides us. And before we start, if you want to know more about anxious mind and how to deal with it, I have a 5 weeks workshop. I'm going to leave the link below and you're welcome to participate. So, number 1, hold your interpretation lightly. Imagine you're sending a message to a friend. An hour passed, she doesn't answer. 2 hours pass, nothing. And then all of a sudden your mind starts to create an entire Netflix series out of it. It says, episode 1. She might be upset with me. Episode 2. Oh, now I remember. Last week I said something. I'm not sure she was offended, but the way he looked at me, now remember that was somehow not happy. Episode 3, our friendship is over. Why she's sitting at the dentist and with her phone off. Notice what happened. An interpretation become a fact. Instead of saying, she's avoiding me, try to say, one possibility is that she's avoiding me. It sounds like a tiny difference, but it's not. Because one sentence closed the investigation. But other leaves a possibility, endless possibility to finally find the truth. Number 2, practice intellectual humility. The problem is not only the story. The suffering comes from how much we are attached to the story. The story about my father is a very good example. For years, I was absolutely certain that I understand exactly what that sentence means. Then, one conversation introduced me different possibilities. The original story not necessarily was impossible. It could be. But it was simply incomplete. Reality is often much more complicated than our first interpretation. The willingness to feel that we are perhaps, maybe, giving a possibility to be wrong is much healthier than thinking that this is it and end of investigation. Feeling that we are wrong is a healthy form of a psychological flexibility. Now, skill number 3, Notice when the story becomes your identity. A story rarely is dangerous, especially if you remain a story, but it becomes very powerful and dangerous when it becomes your identity. I'm a child who never were appreciated. That leads to I'm a person who easily leave everything. No one wants to stay with me. I'm not enough. I'm someone who never succeeds. At that point, the story is not any longer describing your experience. It becomes your identity. It is defining who you are. And once the story becomes part of your identity, you stop examining it and you believe to it 100%. It becomes a kind of excuse to not do things, to not actually try anything. We start protecting that story. Those are often the stories worth questioning most carefully, especially those stories that become your identity. Now, skill number 4, ask yourself if this story is helpful. We often ask ourselves if the story is true, but let's start to ask ourselves if a story is a helpful story. Some stories are uncomfortable, but they can be useful. Imagine you go to doctor and they tell you that you have a health issue. What you do, you come back home and start to taking care of your health. This story is a painful story. It's not a pleasant story, but it leads to an action, a pleasant and good action. Other stories, they're concluded. You never open them anymore. It just remains always painful and paralyzing. I will never change, like my story. Nothing ever improve. I'm not a good person. No one need to encourage me because I'm not good enough. Those stories, they don't create movement. They create resignation. Many stories survive not because they are true, because they are familiar. Familiarity is much more comfortable than uncertainty. And uncertainty doesn't make the story true. And it most probably doesn't make it even helpful. Skill number 5, learn to tolerate uncertainty. This is the hardest of all skills. You never know why someone did what they did, why their relation exactly ended, why someone respond the way that they do. They might prefer certainty, but the reality often provides different probabilities. So psychological maturity is not about eliminating uncertainty, but it's more about being able to live with it. Mature thinking is less about I know exactly what happened, and more like there are several possible explanations, and I may never know which one is true. And for many situations, that's enough. The goal is not to stop telling the story. Human beings will continue always to tell a story. The goal is to remember that our story is only interpretation, not recording. Because sometimes the events that hurt us are real, but sometimes the suffering comes from certainty that explains the events. Reality is usually more complicated, but far more kinder than the version that our anxious mind wrote. Well, thank you very much for being here with me to the end of this video, and until next time, take care.